That's not yours. The words slice through the ambient noise of the upscale Italian restaurant like a blade through silk. My fork freezes halfway to my mouth, a piece of bruschetta trembling on the tines. I look up from my appetizer into the coldest pair of gray eyes I've ever seen. The man standing at my table shouldn't exist outside of romance novels. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, a jaw sharp enough to cut glass, and a black suit that probably costs more than my car. But it's not his devastating looks that make my breath catch. It's the barely contained fury radiating from him like heat waves off summer asphalt. "I'm sorry?" I manage, my voice smaller than I'd like. His gaze drops to my right hand, specifically to the vintage emerald ring on my middle finger. The one my grandmother left me in her will 3 months ago. The one I've worn every day since, because it makes me feel like she's still with me somehow. "That ring," he says, and his voice is dangerously soft now. "Where did you get it?" Around us, the restaurant seems to hold its breath. I notice 2 massive men in dark suits flanking the entrance, their attention focused entirely on our table. The other diners have gone conspicuously quiet, their conversations dying like candles in a sudden wind. My heart hammers against my ribs. "It was my grandmother's. Who are you?" "That ring was stolen from my family 15 years ago." He leans down, placing both palms flat on the white tablecloth. His hands are elegant but scarred across the knuckles. "So I'll ask you one more time. Where did you get it?" The accusation hits me like a physical blow. "I just told you. My grandmother, Rose Sullivan, left it to me when she passed. I have documentation. I have her will. Rose Sullivan." Something flickers across his face, too fast to identify. He straightens abruptly, pulling out his phone and typing something rapidly. The tension in his shoulders shifts, though it doesn't disappear. "You're Natalie Sullivan." It's not a question, but I nod anyway, thoroughly unsettled that this terrifying stranger knows my name. "Yes. And you are?" "Victor Kozlov." He says it like I should recognize it. When I just blink at him, something that might be amusement crosses his features. "You really don't know. Should I?" Before he can answer, another voice interrupts. "Natalie, I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic was..." The cheerful voice of my blind date cuts off abruptly. Marcus, a finance guy my friend Jessica swore was perfect for me, stops dead 3 feet from the table, his face draining of color. "Mr. Kozlov." The temperature at the table drops another 10 degrees. "Marcus Delaney." Victor doesn't even look at him. "Leave." "Sir, I didn't know. I swear, I had no idea she was..." "Leave." Victor's voice doesn't rise, but Marcus practically trips over his own feet backing away. Within seconds, he's out the door, leaving his coat on the rack and his dignity in tatters. I stand up, fury temporarily overriding my fear. "What is wrong with you? You can't just..." "Sit down, Natalie." "I absolutely will not. You've accused me of theft, terrified my date. That man would have stolen your credit card information before dessert arrived." Victor pulls out the chair across from mine and sits with the casual confidence of someone who owns the world. "He's run the same scam on 12 women this year. You're welcome. Now sit. We need to talk about your grandmother." The certainty in his voice makes me hesitate. I think of Marcus's slightly too eager questions about where I worked, what bank I used, whether I did my shopping online. The way he'd laughed and said we should exchange phone numbers, in case the date goes badly and we need to cancel. No hard feelings. Slowly, I sink back into my chair. Victor signals to someone I can't see, and within moments, a waiter appears with a bottle of wine that definitely wasn't on my budget-conscious menu. The waiter pours 2 glasses with trembling hands and vanishes. "Your grandmother," Victor says, studying me with those unsettling gray eyes, "worked for my family a long time ago. Before you were born." "Worked for your family doing what?" "She was a bookkeeper, one of the best." He takes a sip of wine, and I notice the edge of a tattoo crawling up from beneath his collar. Cyrillic letters, I think. "When she left our employment, certain items went missing, including that ring. My mother's ring. The pieces aren't fitting together. My grandmother, who taught me to bake cookies and took me to church every Sunday, who volunteered at the hospital and never said an unkind word about anyone. That's impossible. Gran would never steal. Normally, I'd agree with you. Victor sets down his glass. Rose was honest to a fault, which is why I'm trying to understand what happened. Why she would take something so valuable. Why my father, who had men killed for less, let her disappear without consequence. The casual mention of murder should send me running. Instead, I'm fixated on something else. Your father let her go. Against all protocol. Against his own nature. Victor's expression is unreadable. I was 10 years old. I remember my mother crying for days after that ring vanished. I remember my father making phone calls, mobilizing his entire network. And then, nothing. He called it off, told everyone Rose Sullivan was not to be touched, not to be found, not to be spoken of. He died 5 years ago without ever explaining why. I twist the ring on my finger, seeing it differently now. The emerald is flawless, surrounded by small diamonds in an intricate setting. I'd thought it was costume jewelry, honestly, just something pretty Gran had picked up at an estate sale. But looking at it now, seeing Victor's focus on it, how much is it worth? The monetary value? $250,000, maybe more. He leans back, but its real value is what it represents. It's been in the Kozlov family for 4 generations. My great-grandfather gave it to my great-grandmother the day she emigrated from Russia. My mother wore it at her wedding. It was supposed to... He stops, jaw tightening. It matters. That's all you need to know. I should take it off, should hand it over right now and end this nightmare. But something stops me. Some deep, bone-level certainty that my grandmother didn't steal this ring. That there's more to this story. I need to check something, I say. Gran left me boxes of her things, papers, photos. If she worked for your family, there might be something that explains this. Where are these boxes? My apartment, but I'm not just going to let you. I'm not giving you a choice, Natalie. Victor stands, buttoning his suit jacket. You're wearing a ring that belongs to my family. A ring that men in my world would kill to possess. Not because of its value, but because of what stealing it from a Kozlov would mean. Every 2-bit hustler and ambitious underboss in the city will see it as proof that we're weak, that we can be robbed without consequence. The fear that I've been pushing down surges back. I didn't know. I'll take it off right now. Too late. You were seen coming in here. Marcus, for all his faults, has eyes and a mouth, and he'll use both to save his own skin when my people catch up to him. By tomorrow morning, every criminal organization from here to Brooklyn will know that Rose Sullivan's granddaughter is walking around with Katerina Kozlov's ring. He extends his hand to me. So you have 2 choices. You come with me now, we figure out what happened, and I keep you alive. Or you walk out that door alone, and I give you 12 hours before someone less patient than me decides to take that ring the hard way. The restaurant swims in my vision. This morning I was a graphic designer annoyed about a deadline, nervous about a blind date, worried about whether my hair looked okay. Now I'm apparently caught in the middle of some mafia drama I didn't even know existed. But when I look at Victor Kozlov's outstretched hand, I don't see a threat. I see something else. A promise. A protection. I take his hand. His fingers close around mine, warm and solid, and anchored to a world I never imagined existed. Smart girl, he murmurs. Let's go find out what your grandmother was hiding. The drive to my apartment happens in a black SUV that smells like leather and gun oil. Victor sits beside me in the back seat, making phone calls in what I assume is Russian, his voice clipped and authoritative. I catch my name more than once. Natalie. It sounds different in his accent, the syllables shaped by an unfamiliar tongue. Through the tinted windows, I watch the familiar streets of my neighborhood slide past. Everything looks the same, but I feel like I've stepped through a mirror into some alternate reality. The coffee shop where I work on my laptop. The park where I jog on Sunday mornings. The grocery store where I grab wine and frozen dinners. All of it suddenly seems fragile, like a stage set that could collapse at any moment. Who are you calling? I ask when he ends another conversation. People who need to know you're under my protection now. He tucks the phone into his jacket. By the time we reach your apartment, there will be men stationed on your street. You won't see them, but they'll be there. For how long? Until this is resolved. He looks at me, and for the first time, I see something almost gentle in those hard gray eyes. I know this isn't what you signed up for tonight, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't even know you. You know I could have taken that ring by force the moment I saw it. You know I sent away a man who would have victimized you. You know I'm sitting here explaining things I don't have to explain. His voice drops. You know I'm trying very hard not to scare you more than I already have. He's right on all counts. And there's something else, something I'm afraid to acknowledge. When he took my hand in the restaurant, when his fingers closed around mine, I felt safe, protected. It's insane, feeling that way about a man who just threatened me, who openly admits to being part of a criminal empire. But I can't deny it. Okay, I whisper. I'll trust you. Something shifts in his expression. Thank you. My apartment is a modest one-bedroom in a converted brownstone. I've always loved it, loved the high ceilings and the window seat where I drink my morning coffee. Now, watching Victor's eyes catalog every entrance and exit, every window and fire escape, I see it differently. I see vulnerabilities. 2 of his men enter first, clearing the apartment with professional efficiency. They're both massive, with the same watchful intensity as their boss. When they give the all clear, Victor gestures for me to enter. Where are the boxes? Bedroom closet. Top shelf. He follows me into my bedroom, and I'm suddenly acutely aware of the unmade bed, the clothes draped over my chair, the romance novel on my nightstand. His mouth quirks at that last item, but he doesn't comment. I pull down 3 banker's boxes, each labeled in my own handwriting. Gran's papers, Gran's photos, Gran's personal. We carry them to my small dining table, and I turn on the overhead light. Coffee, I offer, needing something normal to do. Please. While the coffee brews, Victor begins going through the boxes with methodical care. He handles Gran's things with respect, I notice. Not roughly or impatiently, but as though they matter. As though she mattered. Tell me about her, he says without looking up. I pour 2 mugs of coffee, add cream to mine. She raised me. My parents died in a car accident when I was 6. Gran stepped in without hesitation. She was strict but loving. Made me do my homework, made me volunteer, made me think about other people. She wasn't wealthy, but we always had enough. She died 3 months ago. Heart attack. Very sudden. I'm sorry. The simple sincerity in those words catches me off guard. I have to look away, blinking back sudden tears. Thank you. Did she ever talk about her past? Before you were born? Not really. She mentioned working as a bookkeeper for various businesses. She was good with numbers, but nothing specific, no names. I join him at the table, pulling the photo box closer. She was private about certain things. I always thought she was just, I don't know, old-fashioned about sharing personal details. Victor pulls out a manila envelope from the papers box. Inside are documents, old employment records, tax forms, letters of recommendation. His finger stops on one dated 1989. Here, Kozlov Imports. She worked for us for 3 years. I lean closer to read it. The letterhead is elegant, professional. The recommendation itself is glowing, praising Rose Sullivan's accuracy, discretion, and integrity. It's signed by Mikhail Kozlov, Victor's father. If she was so good, why did she leave? That's what we're trying to find out. He sets aside the letter and continues searching. Minutes pass, filled only with the rustle of paper and the distant sound of traffic outside. Then I find it. A photograph, buried near the bottom of the photo box. It's faded, the colors washed out by time, but the image is clear enough. My grandmother, younger than I'd ever seen her, maybe in her early 30s. She's standing in what looks like an office, smiling at the camera. And beside her, his arm around her shoulders, is a man I don't recognize. Dark-haired, handsome, with a fierce look in his eyes, even while smiling. Victor goes completely still. That's my father. I study the photo more closely. The way Gran is leaning into him, the way his hand rests on her shoulder, familiar and fond. The way they're looking at each other, not at the camera, their smiles soft and private. Oh, I breathe. Oh. They were in love. Victor's voice is hollow. My father and your grandmother were in love. The implications cascade through my mind. But your mother was in an arranged marriage with my father. They were married for 40 years, had 3 children, ran an empire together. But they didn't marry for love. They married for alliance, for power. He runs his hand through his hair, disheveling it for the first time since I met him. I knew my father respected my mother. I thought there was affection there, but I always wondered why he seemed so distant, like part of him was somewhere else. I flip through more photos. There are others. Gran and Mikhail at a restaurant. Gran and Mikhail in what might be a park, her laughing at something he's saying. Gran and Mikhail standing in front of a brownstone that I recognize with a jolt as the very building I'm sitting in now. She lived here, I realize, even back then. This was her place. Victor takes the photos from my hands, studying each one with an intensity that makes my chest ache. He's seeing his father differently, I realize. Seeing a man who was capable of love, who maybe sacrificed that love for duty and family and the brutal logic of their world. The ring, he says finally. He gave it to her. It wasn't stolen. It was a gift. But it was your mother's ring. Why would she? My mother probably never knew it was gone. She had dozens of pieces of jewelry, most of which she never wore. My father could have taken it from the safe, told her it was at the jeweler for cleaning. She wouldn't have questioned him. Victor sets down the photos carefully, like they might shatter. He gave Rose the one thing he could never give her publicly, the ring that symbolized commitment. Forever. Family. Then why did she leave? We search in silence for another hour, going through every paper, every photograph, every scrap of Gran's documented life. And finally, in the personal box, tucked inside an envelope marked for Natalie, I find a letter. My hands shake as I unfold the yellowed paper. Gran's handwriting, still neat and precise, even though this was clearly written years ago. My dearest Natalie, I read aloud. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've found the ring. I want you to know the truth, even though I've kept it secret all these years. I loved a man once. Loved him more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. His name was Mikhail Kozlov, and he was the most dangerous, beautiful, impossible man I ever met. We couldn't be together. His life, his responsibilities, his family, they required things of him that I couldn't share. A wife who understood that world. Children who could inherit his legacy. And I couldn't give him those things, not without destroying everything he'd built. So I left. He begged me to stay, offered me everything but the one thing that mattered. A life we could live openly. I couldn't be a secret, Natalie. I couldn't live in the shadows of his world, watching him build a life with someone else. So I took the ring he gave me, and I walked away. He told me I was stealing his heart. I told him I was borrowing it, and someday I'd give it back. I never did. I wore this ring every day of my life, hidden beneath my other jewelry where no one would notice. And when I died, I wanted you to have it. Not because of its value, but because it represents something important. It represents love that was real, even if it couldn't last. It represents choosing yourself, your dignity, your right to be more than someone's secret. But it also represents the kind of love that changes you, that marks you forever. I hope you find that kind of love someday, sweetheart. And I hope when you do, you're braver than I was. Brave enough to fight for it. All my love, Gran. The last words come out as a whisper. I set down the letter, my vision blurred with tears. Victor is staring at nothing, his jaw tight, his hands flat on the table. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough. She couldn't be his secret, but she was his heart, and he let her go because he loved her enough to respect what she needed. He must have been devastated. He was. Victor looks at me, and there's pain in his eyes now. old pain mixing with new understanding. I remember that year. I was 10. My father changed, became harder, colder, threw himself into the business like a man trying to outrun something. My mother noticed. She asked him once if he was all right. He told her he'd lost something important, and he'd never get it back. We sit in silence, the letter between us, the weight of old love and old loss filling my small apartment. "You should keep the ring," Victor says finally. "What? No, I can't. It was given in love. Your grandmother earned it. She carried that secret, that sacrifice, for 30 years. The ring is yours by every right that matters." He stands, buttoning his jacket. "But I need you to do something for me." "What?" "Let me help you protect it. And you." He extends his hand again, and I see the parallel to the restaurant, the choice he's offering me. The story about the ring is going to spread. People will come looking for it. Let me make sure they don't find you. I should say no. Should thank him and send him away, and try to go back to my normal life. But I look at his hand, scarred and strong and steady, and I think about Gran's letter. About being brave. About fighting. What does that mean exactly? You protecting me? It means you stay close to me until I make it clear that you're under Kozlov protection. It means people see us together, understand that you're not a target. It means... He hesitates, and for the first time, he looks uncertain. It means spending time with me, being seen with me, letting people think there's a connection between us. So, I'm supposed to pretend to be your... what? Girlfriend? It's the simplest explanation, the one that makes sense in my world. A man protects what's his. The possessive phrase should bother me. Instead, it sends heat through my body. And after, when it's safe, then you go back to your life, free and clear. I'll make sure of it. I study his face, looking for deception, for danger. But all I see is exhaustion and honesty and something else. Something that looks like hope. "Okay," I hear myself say. "I'll do it." The transformation in my life is immediate and surreal. Victor's people move me into a hotel suite the same night, citing security concerns with my apartment. It's not a suggestion. Within hours, I'm standing in a room that's bigger than my entire apartment, with a view of the city that belongs in movies. Victor appears the next morning with coffee and pastries from a bakery I recognize, but have never been able to afford. He's dressed more casually today, dark jeans and a black sweater that does nothing to make him less intimidating. "We need to establish your presence in my world," he says, setting out breakfast on the suite's dining table. "There's an event tonight, the opening of a new restaurant owned by an associate of mine. We'll attend together." My stomach flips. I don't have anything to wear to something like that. He pulls out his phone, types something. "Someone will be here at noon with options. Choose whatever you like." "Victor, I can't let you buy me clothes." "You're doing me a favor. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable." He pours coffee, hands me a cup. "Besides, appearances matter in my world. If you're going to be seen as mine, you need to look the part." The word mine sends another flutter through my chest. I sip the coffee to cover my reaction. It's perfect, made exactly how I take it, which means he noticed yesterday, which means he pays attention. At noon, a woman arrives with 3 rolling racks of dresses. Designer labels I recognize from magazines. The woman, who introduces herself as Valentina, has an eye that misses nothing. "You have beautiful coloring," she says, holding up a deep emerald dress that matches Gran's ring. "This would be stunning." I try on 6 dresses before settling on the emerald one. It's elegant without being over the top, sophisticated without making me feel like I'm playing dress-up. When I emerge from the bedroom, Victor looks up from his laptop and goes completely still. "Perfect," he says, and his voice has dropped an octave. Valentina also provides shoes, a clutch, jewelry that complements the ring without competing with it. By the time she leaves, I feel like Cinderella preparing for a very dangerous ball. The restaurant opening is in Manhattan, in a neighborhood where every car is expensive, and every person looks like they belong in a fashion magazine. Victor's hand is steady on my lower back as we exit the SUV, guiding me toward the entrance where cameras flash and people call out his name. "Ignore them," he murmurs. "Just stay close to me." Inside, the restaurant is all dark wood and soft lighting, filled with people who radiate wealth and power. Victor navigates through them with ease, introducing me simply as Natalie, his hand never leaving my back. I feel the weight of curious stares, the calculation in people's eyes as they try to figure out who I am and what I mean to him. An older man approaches, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, with the kind of presence that makes others step aside. "Victor, I heard an interesting rumor about Rose Sullivan's granddaughter." Victor's hand tightens slightly on my back. "Anton, may I introduce Natalie Sullivan? Natalie, Anton Volkov." I extend my hand and Anton takes it, his gaze dropping immediately to the emerald ring. His eyes widen almost imperceptibly. "Remarkable," he says softly. "I remember when Katerina wore that ring. Mikhail was so proud when he gave it to her." He looks at Victor. "Now it's returned to the family, it seems." "In a manner of speaking," Victor agrees, his tone pleasant but firm. "Natalie is under my personal protection. I trust that information will reach the appropriate ears." "Of course." Anton releases my hand, but his eyes linger on my face. "You look like her, you know. Rose, same eyes, same stubborn chin. She was a remarkable woman." "You knew my grandmother?" "Briefly. Long ago." Something sad crosses his features. "She made Mikhail happy in a way I'd never seen before or since. When she left, it broke something in him. I'm glad to see that ring on someone who has a right to wear it." He moves away, and I realize I'm trembling. Victor leans down, his breath warm against my ear. "You're doing beautifully. Just a bit longer." The evening passes in a blur of introductions and careful conversations. Victor never leaves my side, his presence a constant source of stability. I notice how people defer to him, how rooms quiet slightly when he speaks, how even the most powerful-looking men show him respect tinged with caution. We're standing at the bar when a woman approaches. She's stunning, dark-haired and tall, wearing a dress that probably costs more than my entire wardrobe. Her eyes on Victor are proprietary. "Victor, darling, I haven't seen you in ages." Her accent is French, her smile sharp. "Are you going to introduce me to your friend?" "Natalie, this is Isabel Moreau. Isabel, Natalie Sullivan." Isabel's gaze rakes over me with undisguised disdain. "Sullivan? How ordinary." She turns back to Victor, dismissing me entirely. "I'm having a party next week. You should come. We had such fun last time." Victor's expression doesn't change, but something cold enters his voice. "I'll be occupied." "Surely you can spare one evening. We have so much to catch up on." Her hand lands on his arm, familiar and suggestive. I should stay quiet. Should let Victor handle this. But something about the way she's touching him, the way she's acting like I'm not even here, sparks defiance in my chest. "We have plans that week," I say, placing my hand over Victor's where it rests on my back. "Maybe another time." Isabel finally looks at me, really looks at me, and her expression turns vicious. How sweet. Victor has a pet project. "Tell me, dear, how long do you think you'll hold his interest? A week? 2? He has very particular tastes." Victor moves before I can respond, removing Isabel's hand from his arm with surgical precision. "You forget yourself, Isabel. Natalie is not a project. She is under my protection, which means she carries the full weight of the Kozlov name. Insult her again, and you'll find out exactly how seriously I take that responsibility." The temperature drops 10 degrees. People nearby fall silent, watching. Isabel pales. "Victor, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did, which is why you're going to leave now. And you're going to make sure everyone you speak with understands that Natalie Sullivan is off limits. Completely. Permanently." His voice could cut glass. Am I clear? "Crystal." Isabel practically flees. I'm shaking again, but this time it's not from fear. It's from the fierce satisfaction of watching someone defend me so completely, so publicly. Victor looks down at me, his expression softening. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Don't be. I liked watching you shut her down. I smile up at him, very protective. Something flashes in his eyes. Heat. Want. We should go. The ride back to the hotel is quiet, but the silence hums with tension. I'm acutely aware of Victor beside me, the space between us feeling both too much and not enough. When we reach the hotel, he walks me to my suite. You did well tonight, he says at the door. Better than I expected. What did you expect? Honestly, I thought you'd be terrified. Out of your depth. He studies my face. But you held your own. You handled Anton with grace. You stood up to Isabel. You made people believe we were together. Maybe that's because it didn't feel entirely like pretending. The words escape before I can stop them. Victor goes very still. Natalie, I know. This isn't real. It's protection. It's strategy. It's about the ring and keeping me safe. I understand that. I fumble with my clutch, not quite able to meet his eyes. But tonight, when you defended me, when you kept your hand on my back all evening like you were anchoring me, it felt real. And I just thought you should know that I'm aware. I'm probably catching feelings I shouldn't be catching for a man who's just doing his job. I finally look up, expecting to see discomfort, or pity, or worse, amusement. Instead, Victor is looking at me like I'm something precious and fragile and terrifying all at once. What if it's not just a job? He says quietly. My heart stops. What? From the moment I saw you in that restaurant, wearing my mother's ring, looking at me with defiance instead of fear, something shifted. I told myself it was about the ring, about honor, about solving a 30-year-old mystery. He steps closer, and I can smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. But tonight, watching other men look at you, watching Isabel try to belittle you, feeling you stand beside me like you belonged there, I realized I'm not doing this just to protect you. I'm doing this because I don't want to let you go. Victor, I know it's insane. I know we've known each other for barely 24 hours. I know I'm the last man you should be involved with. I'm dangerous. My life is violent and complicated and nothing like the safe, normal world you come from. He cups my face with one hand, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. But I also know that when I touch you, something in me that's been cold for a very long time starts to warm up. And I think my father felt this way about your grandmother. This certainty, this sense of recognition, like I've been waiting for you without knowing it. I should be sensible, should step back, should remember that this is a mafia boss, a man who operates outside the law, a man whose world includes violence and danger, and things I can't even imagine. Instead, I lean into his touch. Gran wrote that she hoped I'd be braver than she was, that I'd fight for love, instead of walking away from it. Are you saying you'll fight for this? For us? I'm saying I want to try. If you do. Victor's answer is to kiss me. It's not gentle. It's fierce and claiming and full of barely restrained hunger. His hand slides into my hair while his other arm wraps around my waist, pulling me against him. I grab his sweater, holding on, kissing him back with equal intensity. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Come inside, I whisper. If I do, I'm not leaving. Not tonight. Good. We barely make it through the door before we're kissing again. Victor kicks the door shut behind us, walking me backward toward the bedroom, his hands mapping my body through the emerald dress. We're a tangle of desperate touches and shed clothing, of whispered names and breathless laughter when his belt buckle proves stubborn. And then we're on the bed, and he's above me, looking down at me with such intensity that I feel seen in a way I never have before. You're sure? He asks. I'm sure. What happens next is tender and fierce and perfect. Victor makes love like he does everything else, with complete focus, with intensity, with a single-minded determination to claim every part of me. And when I fall asleep afterward, wrapped in his arms, the ring on my finger catching the moonlight, I feel safe in a way that has nothing to do with protection and everything to do with belonging. I wake to sunshine and the smell of coffee. Victor is already up, dressed in slacks and a white shirt, talking quietly on his phone by the window. When he sees me watching, he ends the call and comes back to the bed. Good morning. Morning. I sit up, holding the sheet against my chest. In the daylight, uncertainty creeps in. So, about last night. No regrets, he says firmly. Not from me. You? No regrets. But I'm not sure what happens now. Victor sits on the edge of the bed, taking my hand. The one with the ring. Now we stop pretending. Now we make this real. If you want that. Your world, Victor. I don't know if I can. My world is dangerous, but it's also loyal. Protective. Once you're part of it, truly part of it, you're protected by rules older than countries. You become untouchable. He lifts my hand, presses a kiss to my knuckles just below the ring. And I can keep you safe. Not just from outside threats, but within the organization. As my wife. I freeze. Did you just... I'm not asking yet. Not properly. But I'm telling you my intentions, Natalie. I don't do casual. I don't do temporary. When I commit to something, it's forever. And I'm committing to you. To us. To making this work. His gray eyes are steady on mine. You can take time to think about it. Take weeks. Months. But know that I'm already sure. You're wearing my mother's ring. My father gave it to your grandmother as a promise he couldn't keep. I want to give that promise to you as one I will keep. Forever. Tears sting my eyes. That's the most terrifying and romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. Is that a yes? That's a let me have coffee and process the fact that the dangerous mafia boss I slept with last night just basically proposed marriage. He laughs, and the sound transforms his face. Makes him look younger. Happier. Fair enough. Coffee first. Marriage later. The next few weeks are a blur of adjustments. Victor slowly introduces me deeper into his world. I meet his family, his mother, who studies me with sharp eyes before softening when she sees the ring and hears the story of Gran and Mikhail. His sister, Natasha, who's tough as nails but warm once she decides I'm worthy. His brother, Alexei, who's suspicious until Victor makes it clear I'm not to be questioned. I also see the darker side of his life, the meetings where violence is discussed clinically. The men who come and go with dead eyes and blood on their consciences. The reality of what Victor's protection means, not just safety, but being part of a system I don't fully understand. It's terrifying. It's overwhelming. And somehow, with Victor's steady presence beside me, it becomes manageable. He never hides anything from me. Never sugarcoats the reality of his world. But he also makes it clear that I have a choice. Always. That I can walk away at any time. I don't walk away. Instead, I find myself falling deeper. Falling for the way he checks on me throughout the day. Falling for the gentle way he handles his mother, despite his fearsome reputation. Falling for the fierce loyalty he shows his people. Falling for the way he holds me at night like I'm something precious. 2 months after we met, Victor takes me back to the restaurant where this all started. We sit at the same table where he first accused me of theft, where everything began. I've been thinking about that night, he says, reaching across the table to take my hand. How I saw that ring and thought the worst. How I was ready to take it from you by force. How I almost lost you before I found you. But you didn't. But I could have, if you'd been less brave, if you'd run instead of standing your ground, if you'd taken off the ring and handed it over. He pulls a small box from his jacket pocket. Your grandmother's ring, my mother's ring, brought us together. But it belongs to the past, to their love story. I want us to have our own. He opens the box. Inside is a ring that takes my breath away. A diamond surrounded by emeralds, echoing the original ring, but distinct. Unique. Ours. Natalie Sullivan. I'm a man who operates outside the law, who lives in violence and shadows, who can't promise you a normal life or a safe existence. But I can promise you loyalty, protection, a love that's fierce and possessive and absolute. I can promise you that I will defend you against anything, that I will choose you every day for the rest of my life. He slides out of his chair, kneeling beside the table. Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend my life proving that some love stories get a second chance, that your grandmother and my father's story doesn't have to end in separation, that we can have what they couldn't. Around us, the restaurant has gone silent. I'm vaguely aware of people watching, of phones recording, of this moment becoming public, becoming real. I think of Gran's letter, of her choice to walk away because she couldn't be someone's secret, of her decades alone, wearing a ring that represented love she'd sacrificed for dignity. I think of Victor's father, who let the woman he loved go rather than force her to live in shadows, who spent the rest of his life closed off, never recovering from that loss. I think of the ring on my finger, passed down through loss and longing and unfulfilled promises. And I think of the man kneeling before me, offering not secrecy but public declaration. Not shadows, but fierce, proud claiming. Not sacrifice, but partnership. Yes, I whisper. Then louder, yes. Yes, I'll marry you. The restaurant erupts in applause. Victor slides the new ring onto my finger, beside Gran's, and then he's pulling me into his arms, kissing me like we're the only two people in the world. When we finally break apart, his forehead rests against mine. You're mine now, officially, publicly, completely. And you're mine, I counter. Don't forget that part. Never. He pulls back enough to look at me, and his smile is everything. Come on, we have people to tell, starting with my mother. She's going to cry and then immediately start planning the wedding. Wait, now? We just got engaged 2 minutes ago. Welcome to the Kozlov family, sweetheart. We don't do anything halfway. He's right. Within hours, Victor's mother is indeed crying and planning. Within days, the engagement is announced formally, cementing my position in Victor's world. Within weeks, I've moved from the hotel to Victor's penthouse, a space that's slowly becoming ours as my things mix with his. The wedding is planned for 3 months out, enough time to do it properly, but not so long that we have to wait. Victor is impatient, I discover. Now that he's decided I'm his, he wants it formalized, legalized, locked down. Trust issues? I tease him one night as we're going over seating charts. Possessive tendencies, he corrects, pulling me into his lap. I spent 38 years not knowing you existed. Now that I've found you, I'm not wasting time. I kiss him, slow and deep. For the record, I'm not going anywhere. Good. Because I'd hunt you down. That should probably sound more threatening than it does. You like that I'm possessive. I like that you're honest about it. I like that you don't hide what you want. I trace the line of his jaw. I like that you make me feel chosen, claimed, important. You are important. You're everything. He stands, lifting me with him. Now let's go to bed before my mother calls again with her opinion on flowers. The night before our wedding, Victor's mother gives me something. We're at the rehearsal dinner, surrounded by family and friends, and she pulls me aside to a quiet corner. I want you to have this, she says, pressing a small velvet pouch into my hands. Inside is a delicate necklace with a small emerald pendant. I recognize it immediately from the old photos. Gran is wearing it in several pictures with Mikhail. This was your grandmother's, Katerina says softly. Mikhail gave it to her. When she left, she returned it to him, but he could never bring himself to do anything with it. After he died, I found it among his most personal possessions. I never understood why he kept it until you appeared with that ring. Until I learned about Rose. I can't take this. You can. You should. Your grandmother returned it because she thought she had to give up that part of her life completely. But you don't have to give up anything, Natalie. You get to have it all. Love and independence, partnership and dignity. The kind of life Rose and Mikhail could have had if circumstances had been different. Katerina fastens the necklace around my neck. Tomorrow, when you marry my son, you'll be wearing pieces of both of their stories. But you'll be writing your own ending, a better one. I hug her. this fierce Russian woman who raised Victor to be the man he is. Thank you for accepting me, for sharing this with me. Thank you for loving him, for being brave enough to step into our world, for giving an old woman hope that her son won't end up like his father, powerful, but alone. She cups my face. Be happy, my dear. You've earned it. The wedding is everything I never knew I wanted. It's held at a historic estate outside the city, filled with flowers and candlelight and enough security to guard a head of state. I wear a dress that makes me feel like a princess, with Gran's ring on one hand and Victor's engagement ring on the other, and the emerald necklace at my throat. When I walk down the aisle on Alexei's arm, Victor's brother insisted on the honor, I see Victor waiting for me. He's in a black tuxedo, his hair swept back, his gray eyes locked on me with such intensity that I feel it like a physical touch. The ceremony blurs. I hear myself saying vows, hear Victor's voice steady and sure as he promises me forever. I feel him slide a wedding band onto my finger, adding to the collection of rings that mark our joined stories. And then the officiant says, "You may kiss your bride." And Victor pulls me into his arms and kisses me like he's sealing a vow that goes beyond words. The reception is a blur of dancing and toasts and well wishes from people who range from Victor's legitimate business associates to men I recognize from the darker side of his world. Everyone is respectful. Everyone understands what I represent. Not just Victor's wife, but a symbol of something larger. Proof that their world can include love and softness alongside violence and power. Late in the evening, Victor pulls me away from the celebration to a balcony overlooking the grounds. The music and laughter fade to a pleasant hum behind us. How are you holding up, Mrs. Kozlov? I lean against him, his arms wrapping around me from behind. Mrs. Kozlov. That's going to take some getting used to. You have the rest of your life to adjust. He presses a kiss to my temple. Thank you. For what? For saying yes. For taking a chance on me. For being brave enough to fight for this when you could have walked away. His arms tighten. For giving me something my father never had. A love I don't have to hide. I turn in his arms, looking up at him. Your father got it wrong, you know. He thought he had to let Gran go to protect her. But I think she would have stayed if he'd just asked her to stand beside him instead of behind him, if he'd made her a partner instead of a secret. I won't make that mistake. Victor's hand comes up to cup my cheek. You stand beside me, always, in everything. Partner, wife, equal. Even in the dangerous parts? Especially in those. I won't lie to you. I won't hide what I do. And in return, you keep me human. Keep me tethered to something beyond power and violence. Keep me... He stops, his voice catching. Keep me from becoming my father. Alone, despite being surrounded by people. Powerful, but empty. You could never be empty, Victor. You feel too much. Love too fiercely. I stretch up to kiss him, but I'll remind you anyway. Every day. For the rest of our lives. I'm going to hold you to that. Good. We stand there together, wrapped in each other and in promises that echo across generations. Somewhere, I like to think Gran and Mikhail are watching, seeing their grandchildren find what they couldn't. Seeing the ring that represented loss now representing triumph. Victor's phone buzzes. He glances at it and sighs. It's Alexei. Apparently someone's starting a fight in the reception hall. Do you need to? No, he can handle it. This is my wedding day. The only thing I'm handling is my wife. He pulls me toward the door. Speaking of which, I believe there's a tradition about carrying the bride over the threshold. Victor, we're not leaving our own reception. Watch me. And he does. He actually sweeps me up into his arms and carries me through the estate to the suite that's been prepared for us, ignoring the catcalls and laughter from his family. He kicks the door shut behind us and sets me down carefully, his hands immediately going to the buttons of my dress. Finally, he murmurs against my neck. I've been wanting to get you out of this dress since the moment I saw you in it. It's been 3 hours. 3 hours too long. Later, much later, we lie tangled together in the massive bed. Victor is tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder, his other hand playing with the rings on my finger. I have something for you, he says. A wedding present. Victor, you've already given me too much. He reaches for the nightstand and pulls out a folder. Inside are papers, legal documents. It takes me a moment to understand what I'm looking at. You're putting my name on everything, I realize. All your legitimate businesses, your real estate, your investments. If something happens to me, you're protected. Not just by the organization, but legally, financially. You'll never be vulnerable. He sets the folder aside, but there's something else. The last page. I flip to it. It's a deed. To the brownstone where I lived before all this started. The building where Gran lived when she loved Mikhail. You bought my building? I bought your building. Or rather, we did. It's in both our names. I thought... He looks almost uncertain, which is so unlike him that it makes my heart clench. I thought maybe someday, when things are calmer, we could live there. Raise our children there. Give that place the happy ending it deserves, the one your grandmother never got to have. I can't speak past the lump in my throat, so I kiss him instead, pouring everything I feel into it. Gratitude, love, wonder that this fierce, dangerous man can be so thoughtful, so romantic. When I finally pull back, I'm crying. It's perfect, you're perfect. All of this is perfect. Not perfect, but ours, real, worth fighting for. He wipes my tears with his thumbs. I love you, Natalie Kozlov. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. You've ruined me for anything less than what we have. Good, because you're stuck with me now. Best trap I've ever walked into. We make love again, slow and tender this time. And afterward, as I'm drifting off to sleep, I feel Victor press a kiss to my hair. Thank you, he whispers, thinking I'm already asleep. Thank you for wearing that ring into my life. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for choosing me. I don't answer, but I smile in the darkness, because I know the truth. It wasn't just me choosing him. It was Gran guiding me. It was Mikhail's love ensuring his son wouldn't make the same mistakes. It was a ring that traveled through time and loss and longing to bring two people together who needed each other in ways they couldn't have imagined. Sometimes love stories don't work out. Sometimes they end in sacrifice and separation and decades of what-ifs. But sometimes, if you're very lucky, they get a second chance. Not to be rewritten, but to be redeemed. And as I fall asleep wrapped in Victor's arms, wearing a ring that represents both past and future, I know that's exactly what this is. Redemption, resolution, and a love story finally getting its happy ending. Word count, 9,847.